Welcome to my channel. I'm participating in the Victoria Marie Designs YouTube Masterclass channel hop. Students in this master course are participating in this channel hop to showcase the skills we have learned in this class and to jumpstart our creative YouTube channels. Thanks so much for joining me. After this video, be sure to check out my fellow masterclass students. Their YouTube channels are listed in the description box below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channels. We really appreciate your support. So today we're making a simple single layer card with some ink blending using Distress inks. I'm using this card that I made in the past as inspiration for the card we'll be making today. So we're going to take a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 white cardstock. We're going to score that at 4 1/4 to make a folding card. We're just going to do a simple single layer card today. So we'll go ahead and crease that card on that fold. And I'll go ahead and put away that scoreboard. And I'm going to grab my bone folder, and we want to give that a really good tight crease because we are going to be working with this as a folded card. So I'm going to go ahead and move that paper out of the background because I'm going to be using some blue painter's tape. It's going to have a two-fold purpose. We're going to secure it to our nonstick mat in the background, but it's also going to mask off the area so we get that crisp white edge. The nice thing about using this tape is that if you align it with the edges of the card as I'm doing here, it gives you an even crisp white border all the way around. So I will go ahead and apply this tape to all 4 edges, lining that up and pressing it into place. Once I have all 4 sides down, I am going to grab my bone folder as well. We want to make sure no ink goes under that area where the tape is, so we're going to make sure it's rubbed down really tightly. Now I'm going to take my ink blending tool and go in with some ripe persimmon ink, and we'll go ahead and start blending that out. So I'm going to take that ripe persimmon ink and bring it down on that card. I'm speeding it up here because I do take quite a bit of time adding multiple layers to give that richness and intensity to the ink that I want. And you'll notice I did just have an area that was inked a little darker, but as I continue working with it, it does smooth out. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch my sponge out and work with a different color. We're going to go in with dried marigold now, and I'm going to come up from the bottom. As I'm working on this, I did pull a third ink of spiced marmalade, and I was considering using that to go in between, but I ultimately choose to bring that dried marigold all the way back up to the ripe persimmon to create that two-tone. I did also consider using the spiced marmalade and some water to add some ink splats. I ultimately decided against that as well. So we just have those 2 inks there. Now I'm thinking, do I want to have my silhouette flower come outside into the white area as on the example card, or do I want to have that area masked off? And I do choose to go ahead and leave that masked off. So I'm figuring out how I want that to look. I will go ahead and grab my MISTI stamping tool. That way, if I do need to stamp it twice, I have control and get that stamp lined up exactly right, just in case there's an area that needs additional stamping. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there, put the stamp where I want to have that, and close my MISTI to go ahead and mount that stamp. I also was considering going ahead and stamping my greeting at the same time. I do end up fussing with it quite a bit, so I cut that out, and I'll stamp the greeting later. So I go ahead and mount that stamp and grab my Versamark black ink. As I start to ink the stamp, I notice there's some fuzz on it, so I wipe that off real quick and go ahead and ink that up. I'm going to grab a paper towel and clear that ink that is on the cover and go ahead and we will stamp that down. Give it a good press there, and we'll see how it looks, and it looks great. So I'm not too worried about doing a second stamping there. So we'll go ahead and clean that off, and I'm going to remove my stamp or my card from my MISTI and set that aside. And now I'm going to remove the tape. And when I do this, I do peel it quite slowly so I don't tear the paper underneath, and I fold the tape back on itself. I do this very slowly. I've sped the video up quite a bit here so that it doesn't take too long. The ink also resists on the tape, so to make sure I don't get any inky fingerprints on the card, I am using a paper towel to hold it as I remove that last piece. Once I get that off, I'll go ahead and discard the tape, and I'm going to go wash my hands and make sure that I don't get any ink on my card. So now I'm back with my clean hands so we don't ruin the card we've worked so hard on. I'm going to position my card in my MISTI stamping tool, and we're going to get that greeting stamped on there. It says, "Just because." And I am going to fuss with this quite a bit to get the stamps exactly where I want them, so I will speed it up just a little bit. Quite a bit of fussing going on. And I think I have it right where I want it, so we'll ink it up. Go ahead and wipe that extra ink off the lid and press that down. Give it a little push, and it stamped perfectly. So again, we're not going to have to stamp it a second time. So as I'm putting away my stamping, I'm trying to decide what else I want to do here. I had considered doing some ink splats so that it went over onto the white. This is the stamp set that I used. It's a very useful stamp set. I got it at Hobby Lobby. Great for all sorts of greeting cards. So I feel like it needs just something else, and I grab my pen and we'll do a quick black doodle border around it with a little bit of a white edge inside of that. And I go ahead and sign the back of the card as well. I always initial on the back of my cards and date them. And the card is done. There we go, simple one-layer card. Thanks so much for stopping by. Don't forget to check out my fellow masterclass friends. Their channel links are posted in the description box below. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at Susan Scraps. Those links are posted in the description box as well. Lastly, be sure to subscribe to this channel. When you do, click the bell. That way you will be notified when a new video is posted to my channel.